You're thinking about one. Do you have any specific plans in mind for getting back to balancing the budget with real cuts in government waste? Because having worked down in the military and worked through a couple of state agencies, I mean, there's miles and miles and miles of garbage that could be cut out without impacting the real important things. Like actual troop deployments, stuff like that. Either of you have a specific thing in mind, or?
Well, yes, government waste. I mean, I've been in the restaurant business and pubs and stuff, and the best way to reduce waste is not have so much laying around inventory. And the smaller the government, the less waste we'll have. Yes. So, just quickly on the budget. I mean, you're not getting into a big technical number deal. Like 1/6 of the budget is defense. Well, 1/6 of it is everything else, roads, you name it, discretionary spending. 1/6 is interest on the debt, and the other 3/6 is entitlements. So I mean, we need, we're reducing defense. People may argue for or against that, but overall they've gotten it to a reduced level. The waste in the 1/6 of discretionary spending, that continuously needs to be done.
That's more specifically what I was getting.
Exactly. But even if you got rid of every bit of discretionary spending, like I said, coastal parks, all this stuff that they have discretionary spending, they could cut it tomorrow if they wanted to go crazy. That still would just barely balance the budget. So I mean, and the big growth part of the budget today is entitlements, unfortunately, Medicare and social programs and other things. So that's where you're going to, politicians don't like to talk about it because it's not popular, especially with the older voters. But that's where they're going to have to cut or reduce the rate of growth in spending.
I also know there's a lot of duplicate social programs too.
You're right. In the paper, you see that recently, the Department of Health and Human Services, it needs to be consolidated. It's like, and that's a little bit like the student program you were asking about. It's like, the new government comes in, so, and I'm obviously not a fan of Clinton, but he tries to bring up a new program that he can say, this is my program. And it's just another one added on to the other ones, rather than trying to improve or consolidate. And the Republicans in the last Congress, they've been trying to actually eliminate the Department of Commerce and actually the Department of Education and keep everything local. And when I heard that part, I thought that was kind of radical myself at first, but it actually makes a lot of sense. You keep education money local, not send it to Washington, and then hopefully it'll come back to you if you do the right things that Washington says. So that, I think, is one of the main, and to finish up my answer, if we could get more government locally and not everything federal. We take a lot of our money and we send it to Washington, and they send it back to us, like in Goals 2000, speaking of education again. If we do what they tell us to do, well, then they give us back the support and the money. But if we just kept the money here in the first place, you wouldn't have a bureaucrat or a middleman taking it in between.
What was that question again?
Well, basically,
okay, I know.
Eliminating waste.
I mean, it is the rate of growth of government. I mean, when you really look at it, it is phenomenal. $1 billion a day is added to our national debt. $1 billion a day. I mean, what government spends, it is for every single person here, government spends $24,000 a year. That is what government spending. Every single person's portion here, you are on the receiving ends of $24,000 a year of government services. Unfortunately, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the mindset that government is there to provide and create this new society is still the motivating philosophy in our federal government. I think 1994 was the first little changeover of people saying, we want representatives there who are going to limit, government's involvement in our lives. So it cannot. I mean, even though people are out there saying cutting waste is going to reduce that, it is still such a small portion. It has to be a cap on the growth of spending of the major programs. So.
Do you believe that the United States should be a member of the United Nations, or do you think that our participation in that organization is only leading us one step closer to a one-world government?
I agree with that sentiment. You know, the United Nations, they do good PR. You know, when you meet a person on the street and you mention United Nations, you know, you get a, you know, oh yeah, it's a good organization, you know, yeah, they're doing good stuff, you know, world peace and all this, but when you really get underneath and start looking at what they're really doing, it is scary, it is almost diabolical. The international, I forget the exact name of it, International Treaty on the Rights of the Child. I see this gal like that word, diabolical. She's writing that down. You know who she is? So, I mean, the International Treaty on the Rights of the Child. Pretty good. I did that just for you. All right. I know you want to characterize me as that radical. She didn't like it. No, she really did. The International Treaty on the Rights of the Child. This would take away parental rights as myself as a parent know. I mean, parental right meaning my son, he's coming up under my authority. I am here, he is to listen to me, I'm guiding his life, I'm trying to show him right and wrong, to keep him on the straight and narrow. But this international treaty would deny parents that right if a child didn't want to obey, right? This is one bizarre thing the United Nations is trying to put over on the American people. The Biodiversity Treaty, they want to set aside 50% of the land in the United States as untouchable, right? I don't believe in that. I believe we're supposed to be wise stewards. We're supposed to go in and find land, and we clear out the dead trees. We use those for our resources. We plant new ones. When they mature, we cut them down, and we use it for building houses, and we replant. Right? This is the mindset, I hope, unless you've been indoctrinated in some other philosophy, that you would have. The Biodiversity Treaty being pushed by the United Nations says 50% of the landmass in the United States cannot be touched. So it is bizarre. I don't believe we should be in it. We're paying 25% of what they of their total bills. We're paying 25% of that.